Hello everyone, I'm Devon and this is my channel Cooking for the Family. Today I'm going to share with you how to make apple butter in the crock pot. You will need a half a cup of sugar, a half a cup of light brown sugar, 1 tablespoon of cinnamon, a half a teaspoon of nutmeg, a fourth a teaspoon of table salt, and also 1 tablespoon of fresh squeezed lemon juice. Okay, and I'm going to put all of the ingredients in the description box below. All right, now when we're making our apple butter, these are the apples that I have here in my bowl. And you want to use a variety of apples because it does help with the depth of flavor. So I have Gala apples, I have Fuji apples, I have Red Delicious, I have Golden Delicious, and I also have an Envy apple as well. And I also have a Granny Smith apple in there as well. But you don't want to use too many of those hard apples like Granny Smith's because those are really hard to break down in the crock pot. Okay. And this is 6 pounds of apples, which is about 14 to 18 apples. Let's peel. Okay, guys, so I have peeled, cored, and cut my apples up. And we are going to go on and add our ingredients to our crock pot. Now, with the size of the apples, I've cut them up to about the size of a nickel. All right. You don't want to have the size that you would for, say, an apple pie. So these are like the size of a nickel. So I'm adding in my granulated sugar. I'm going on and I'm adding in my light brown sugar. And then I'm going to go on and put in the tablespoon of cinnamon. And I know it seems like a tablespoon of cinnamon, but it works wonders in this recipe. I have my half a teaspoon of nutmeg, and that's my fourth a teaspoon of table salt. Now I'm going to go on, and what you want to do is you want to break up your brown sugar, and you want to mix it in with the cinnamon and your granulated sugar, your salt. You want to really get in there and mix it in very well and coat the apples as best as you can with all of the different ingredients. Now, did I mention, guys, that this is my very first YouTube video? I hope you like, share, and subscribe to my channel, Cooking for the Family. Okay, back to the apple butter. So I've mixed all the ingredients around just like this. We will be cooking our apple butter for 8 to 10 hours. And that kind of depends on like your crock pot and how your apples are kind of breaking down. But the first hour is going to be on high for the first hour, and the subsequent hours will cook on low. Okay, and let me tell you, through the process of your apple butter cooking, your kitchen, your house is going to smell so good. The aromas coming from your crock pot in your kitchen are it just feels so much like home. It is that nice warm fall feeling, winter feeling. This is just such a great recipe. You can either keep this all for yourself or share it with family and friends. Making apple butter, that homemade gift, it is great for family, for friends, for coworkers, and it is something that's inexpensive to make actually, but it goes a long way, and so many people appreciate it when I give them homemade apple butter because it's something people usually don't get much of. So anyway, so like I said, we're going to go on and cook our apple butter for 8 to 10 hours, and that first hour is going to be on high. So we're going to go on and let our apple butter cook, but from time to time, we are going to come in and check on our apple butter and give it a stir. Mostly I put the top on and I just kind of let it cook and do its thing, but I'm going to be showing you the process and what it looks like. So our apple butter has cooked for that first hour. Let's check on it and let's see what it's looking like. And you see our apples are starting to expel some of their juices. Do you see that? See that juice that's coming off of our apple butter? See how it's just like those apples are starting to break down a little bit. They're just kind of expelling the natural juices in their apples, which is nice. Okay, so it's doing exactly what we wanted to do so far. It's been cooking for 1 hour. We're going to go on and turn our crock pot to low. So our apples now have been cooking for a few hours, and let's check to see what it's looking like. Now you see the difference with our apples, how more juice has expelled from our apples. Our liquid is starting to get that nice golden color from the juice coming off of our apples. The apples are starting to look a little bit more mushy. They're starting to like soften up a little bit, for lack of a better word, like a little bit just mushy. And the juice is coming off. They're starting to soften. And see all that nice juice? It smells so good in this kitchen right now, guys. And there you go. And you see all the spices, our cinnamon, our nutmeg, our granulated sugar, just great. Okay, so now we're down to about our last less than 4 hours of cooking. Let's see what things are looking like. And as you see now, as our crock pot has been cooking, how it starts to really like simmer. And so our apples are really simmering. They've broken down. We started off with a lot of apples in the crock pot. And as it cooks and the juice is expelled from the apples, it really softens up. Our apples start to brown a little bit. You see that consistency that's going on. The juice from the apples, that liquid is starting to thicken up a little bit because of the sugars. And you just want to give it a nice stir. And like I said, normally I just put the top on and I just let it cook. But I really wanted to share with you how that process is. And now we're down to our last hour of our apple butter. Let's see how it's doing. Will you look at that? Wow, from where we first started to where we're at right now. So our apple butter now has been cooking for about 7 to 8 hours. And you see that it is really simmering well. Now it's time, that last hour, we add that fresh squeezed lemon juice. That's 1 tablespoon of fresh squeezed lemon juice. It really just brightens up that apple butter. And I apologize for the camera angle. Y'all, I'm a one-woman show, okay? So, but anyway, how it started to really thicken up. Do you see that? See how our apple butter has just thickened up and how nice that is looking? There you go. And there's just like a little bit of chunks. There's just a little bit of chunks in there still. And I'm going to show you how I kind of break down those last remaining chunks. I will leave some chunks of the apples in there because we like our apple butter just a little bit of that consistency of some chunkiness in there. My family does. But let me tell you, it smells so good. And this apple butter is so natural, so homemade. It is absolutely wonderful. All right, so our apple butter actually has finished cooking and it has been 10 hours. And now we're going to go on and finish breaking down those last thicker, like chunkier bits of apples. We'll leave a little bit, like I said. But do you see that? See, it's nice and thick. There is no excess juice. Our apples have thickened up nicely. And so now we can go on, and I use a potato masher. That's the secret. I use a potato masher and I get in my crock pot and I just break up all of those chunks just like that. Just like that. Now, if you want a really a thinner, not thinner consistency, but if you want it to be, you don't want any chunks in it, you can take like a small mesh strainer and push your apple butter through that mesh strainer to get a different consistency. But I like to use the potato masher. It works great and it gives me the consistency I want. And then this is it, guys. When I am done, I have my canning jars I like to use, and I go on and I fill my jars with apple butter. And I just let the apple butter cool right there in the jars. And I put my label and my lids on my jars, and I put the cooled apple butter inside the refrigerator, and it will keep like that 6 to 8 weeks. Now, if you'd like to make your apple butter shelf stable, you would need to go through the canning process. Also, apple butter will keep up to several months in the freezer in an airtight container. But that's it. This is our finished product, guys. I have a wonderful biscuit recipe, and I hope that you try. That's going to be on my next video. Until then, thank you so much for joining me in Cooking for the Family.